Good evening. Well, today's an interesting show, and I'm excited to get this started, so I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Welcome to Cryptid Crunch. If I can just get my stuff together. Johnny's been moving stuff around. My intro isn't here. All right. So again, welcome to Cryptid Crunch. This is our show. My intro is not in the list. Yeah, okay. So I'll just bring up everybody and we'll just introduce ourselves. Hi, Mark. Hi, Keisha. Hi, Heather.
I was told this was a professional show.
Oh, yeah, I could have sworn that no, I know. Okay, so I could just play this as our intro.
It's like Coca-Cola, Levi Strauss, Johnny Carson and Mickey Mouse. The first star was James Dean, Elvis Presley, and he's still the king. Some things are only imitatable. You can't beat an original. Oh, you can't beat an original.
See, that's awesome. I love it.
Okay, Mark. Who told you we were professional?
Oh, I don't know. Somebody.
They obviously have not met me.
Or me.
I'll just enter us by saying that we were professional because I could have sworn I said that we were tongue in cheek last time we chatted.
I'm thinking of something else. Sorry.
Professional. Oh, we've got high hopes though.
What do you think Dave invited me on the show where we were just talking about nothing? All right, so Mark, you are the author for Eerie Florida, and you started with doing work with Ripley's Believe It or Not. So,
yep, very recently.
Please tell me about your career and how you got started and all that.
Oh my goodness, where to start? Back in this long time ago, called the 1980s, I was just getting out of high school and started writing for a few companies back in the day that were, creating role-playing games. So they were all, like Dungeons and Dragons style stuff. But it was companies called Tritac that made a game called Bureau 13, a game called Pace Setter that made a game called Chill and Time Master. And I was writing filler for them, just, color commentary stuff. I had always been a fan of horror and science fiction and had grown up with that, so it was just like second nature to me. And before my career kind of took off or anything, I became a dad and got the day job and forgot all about that stuff. And it was just like, but I still had that love there everywhere, and worked a retail career for a long time, but loved the spooky side of things. So kept collecting folklore and tales. I grew up in the back hills of West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio.
Oh, where at? I used to live in the tri-state area. So
the tri-state area, right?
Yeah.
I lived in Charleston, West Virginia, but then we would weekend in Louisa, Kentucky, right on the Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky corner there.
I literally lived in Canova, which was right there on the tri-state.
Yeah. Ashland, and Paintsville and all that. I'm like right in that area.
I've never been to any of those places.
Okay. Well, that's Mothman territory. That's all spooky holler monsters and all that.
Oh yeah, Willow knows that I used to live over that way because we did a Mothman series a couple months ago, and I was like, dude, I used to be in the area.
My next book is Eerie Appalachia. I'm going back to my roots.
Nice.
So,
very cool.
We moved down here in the 80s when my father, who was a vice president for Greyhound, when the Skyway bus crash happened, when the Skyway collapsed and the bus fell off and killed 23 people.
Oh my gosh.
That was the worst bus accident in history at that time. My father came down here to investigate it, and he's like, "I love this place. We're moving down here, despite this tragedy. We're moving there." And so a couple years later, we moved down here, and then I was a Florida boy ever since, and I've kind of fallen in love with the place and brought my love of monsters and legends down here.
Okay.
So doing the retail thing and the dad thing, I opened a haunted house in my backyard because I couldn't afford to take the family to horror night and Halloween every year.
Oh yeah,
So-
it gets very expensive.
Yeah, especially with a single dad with 2 kids. So I made my own. We built a thing called Hellview Cemetery, and we based it on local lore and legends. Rather than have a werewolf jump out at you, we had the skunk ape jump out at you. Rather than some nameless vampire, we had Madame Orr, this infamous bordello owner from Tampa, and that Teddy Roosevelt had her whorehouse burned down because he hated her so much. So it's these crazy, colorful characters from history, and I just threw these stories up online. I was still writing. I was just basically throwing it up on the website. Well, we did that for about 20 years. We were actually 19 years, and
Wow.
we had about 10,000 people a weekend going through my backyard at my house in St. Petersburg.
Were you at
before
least charging them for it?
we took donations for charity. We did it all for charity,
Oh, that's pretty cool.
and various charities, including one which was Keep the Lights On Fund.
Yeah,
which-
that's
which
a
was
very
lot of fun.
important charity. Yeah.
Yeah, but we did for the Bat Preservation Society. We did
Awesome.
for Child's Play, video games for children in hospitals, and a lot of other charities at the time. We did a couple local charities, Kind Mouth, which fed transitional families and all that. We finally got shut down because we finally had a couple neighbors just say, enough's enough. 10,000 people.
Why did people have to ruin it for everyone else?
People suck.
One was the guy across the street had a stroke and decided the devil was coming for him, and then seeing our castle on the road suddenly with some strange symbols on it might have upset him some. So that was
Wow.
it finally got to it's like I said, it just became
It's awesome.
too much of a hassle.
Yeah.
So what happened though was I've been collecting stories for 20 years. People have been emailing me, "Oh, do you know this monster story? Do you know this ghost story?" And I'm like, "No, tell me." And then I would learn these stories. And so when Hellview got shut down, I was like, "Well, what do I do with all these stories?" And I'm like, "Well, my kids are all grown up now. I've got time to write again." So I started penciling and typing away. And the next thing I know is I got approached by a publisher, the History Press, and they're normally like when you go to any gift shop or store, you'll see the Battle of Ulusty, the history of your hometown, the hidden history of St. Petersburg. So that's
There's a
their
lot.
normal books. They've done some ghost books as well, but they really took a chance with us. They said, "Hey, let's see what you got," and they let us go crazy. And so we did everything from UFOs to ghosts to Robert the Doll, skunk apes, the whole shebang. And that became Eerie, Florida. And it was originally this huge book. And they're like, scale it back a bit. We only do these little, travel guides and these little history books. So I'm like, fine. So that was Eerie, came out 2015. And my lovely wife did the cover and all the illustrations because she's way more talented than me. And I just do words. She's the real talent. And she actually did that state seal cover, very
Nice.
quickly. I don't know if we can see it. Maybe.
Beautiful.
But if you go to EerieFlorida.com, you can see it. And that became their first bestseller that wasn't written by a politician. So they
Oh,
flipped
wow.
out. And I don't know if you know how bestsellers work. Generally, if you see a politician's book on the bestseller list, nobody's buying that book but the political party they belong
Right.
to, so that they can give it away later, so that they can say their guy is a bestseller,
Right.
or girl or whatever. Yeah, so the
Equal
fact that I
rights.
was doing well without that was flipping them out. So they said, "Hey, Mark, remember all those other stories you had that we had to cut? Can you do more?" And I'm like, "Give me another year." And let me this time go some real deep dives, do
Yeah.
some more thorough investigation. And because the first one we did all the major ones, Robert the Doll, and like I said, stuff like that, the Gulf Breeze UFOs. things that, I thought everybody knew, but a lot of people didn't. But I threw in some obscure ones like Minnie Lightning, the Voodoo Queen of St. Pete, and Pinky, our Florida sea monster. And I knew some people knew them, but I knew not everybody did. So that was the stuff that really hit and resonated. And then certainly I'm on Coast to Coast AM, and I'm a Florida expert, and Florida folklore expert, because I'd found these unusual things. And so the second book came out in 2016, and that was Creepy Florida, and it actually came out in 2017. And this one we got to do like much more like a road trip guide up, from the Panhandle across, and then zigzags down to the Keys, and we hit all kinds of crazy stuff, from the Punta Gorda turtle, the giant turtle that saved a family from a hurricane, and all this other crazy stuff. The Dog Man, but we also went to places like the Wonder House and Bloody Bucket Bridge and the Devil's Tree. Anything that involves a serial killer, and is called the Devil's Tree. You gotta love that. So we got to have a little more fun with that one, and then that hit the bestseller list, and they're like, okay, 2019, what do you got for us? And so, but we want it. What's the big thing on television? When you turn on Discovery Channel, History Channel, Travel Channel,
aliens?
you see some aliens, but what else do you see?
I don't have television.
All ghosts, ghost hunters, ghost travels, ghost adventures, ghost.
It's what I literally put on TV, like. If I just want to zen out and like maybe take a nap, I throw on a ghost show. I find it extremely comforting. I do not know.
My spirit animal.
You are not alone, and that's where the money was. So they said, "Mark, can you do us a ghost book?" And I'm like, "Can I do you a ghost book?" We've put ghosts in all the other books, but so the third book was Creepy Florida. That came out right at the end of 2019, right before the world ended, and this one is all paranormal locations. But because we love monsters, we were able to find some very unusual ghosts to throw in here as well, like the wonderful ghost wolves of the Brooks Bridge.
I've never heard of it, but I want to know about it now.
I will tell you about it. That's part of my
Ghost
job.
Bridge. This sounds interesting.
And there's I can't remember the name of the like literal haunted mansion in Brooksville. Like there's so many cool things.
Nice Stringer House.
Yes, thank you. See, I could just like be like blah blah blah. Cuban Social Club, Ybor City. Mark.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's page 24 of Freaky Florida. No. It's like the old Dianetics commercials. It was always like, where's my wallet? Page 27, Dianetics.
Yeah.
That was what the commercials used to say. What is the meaning of life? Page 94, Dianetics.
Oh my gosh.
But no, the May Stringer House is probably one of my favorite, most haunted locations in Florida.
Amazing.
They do a Ghost Fest every October.
Yeah, I saw something coming up too. Somebody was doing like their own thing. I don't know what it like camping out. I don't know.
They do a Brooksville paranormal investigation team.
Okay.
They are the caretakers of the May Stringer House. So
Right.
they do live cameras there all the time. So if
Yeah.
you follow them on Facebook, you can watch Jesse May's room, watch James's room, watch the attic with Mr. Nasty, the ghost that lives up in the attic. So it's
I feel
incredible.
like I missed out on a lot when I lived in Florida
Aw.
because I was one of those people that like spent 95% of my time at the beach.
Oh, see, now I've lived in Florida my entire life. I grew up in Fort Lauderdale, like on the beach, and moving to Orlando, going on 22 years June. I think, and this is God's honest truth, I think in the last 22 years, I've been to the beach 5 times.
Really,
Oh,
I
wow.
basically lived there. I lived in Tampa.
Yeah.
So like I didn't have an excuse. We literally, the beach was across from
Yeah.
our little efficiency at one point, and my grandpa lived right on the beach too. So like we were
That's nice.
constantly there.
Yeah. I love the beach. It's just so hot all the time.
Please tell me all about the beach, because right now it's
Willow,
been snowing nonstop.
Her and the
We're
husband
in
shoveling.
we're in fake spring right now down here in Tampa Bay.
Okay.
You have your 12 seasons of Florida.
Yeah.
You have winter, which
Yeah.
lasts about 3 random days.
Yes.
Then you have fake spring,
Yep.
which is now. Then you have
No,
second
we're
winter.
in fake summer now because
No, we have
spring-
second winter yet to come. We've still got 3 more days of cold. Sometime in
I
the middle of
don't
the
know.
Strawberry Festival, we'll
Yeah,
have another freeze.
fair.
And then we'll have real spring,
Yes.
which is followed by the pollinating,
Yes.
where it's just pollen everywhere. That's a
And your
season
allergies
here.
hate you.
Guys,
Then you have
I
love
only
bug
have
season.
one lap. If you guys,
Oh,
sorry.
the cats. She's talking about the cats, not us, Mark.
Oh my
Then you have
God. Oh,
love
man.
bug
I'm sorry.
season.
Just
And then after love bug season, you have summer, which is 11 months of August.
Yes.
And then you get that fake fall.
Yeah.
Then you follow by fake winter, and then real fall, and then we're back in winter again. So,
Yeah.
there's a lot of
In
seasons.
Illinois, we have been frozen for the last like 3 months straight, and I quite literally could not open my back door yesterday because the snow was so high. So
Yeah.
missing
With the
out.
dinosaur
right now.
iguanas,
Mark, I
Yeah,
don't know what
that's
it's
all you
like
want.
in Tampa. It's 70 here in Orlando. I have my air conditioning on, and it's 72 in the house. I wore flip flops and like ripped jeans and a t-shirt to Disney, and I was sweating today.
yesterday at Sci-Fi Bartow was like in the mid 70s, and the sun was beating
Oh.
down.
Those pictures, I will show them later.
Yeah.
They look amazing. I love Sci-Fi Bartow.
Bartow is amazing. It's this whole town. It's a great historical town.
Yes.
Untouched by the Civil War. They were like the breadbasket for the South. They were shipping everything north, and they were going to be burned at one point. And so this famous thing called the Brooksville Raid happened, where there were the soldiers were marching out of Tampa to go burn Brooksville and to burn Bartow.
Yeah.
But they never made it because it was swampy and terrible. And they just like, you know what? Screw it. We'll just burn the docks.
Well, and I love the history of that area and then surrounding it because my stepbrothers grew up in Brooksville, so we would go visit. And then recently, there's like a veterans memorial cemetery out there where you buried my maternal grandfather a couple years ago. There's this place, and Mark, you probably know way better than I do. I do not remember the name of it. It's a hot dog stand that Elvis visited.
Yes.
Yeah.
Coney Island hot dogs in Brooksville.
And it is straight
right
up
down from the May Springer house.
Oh yeah, that's true. I was like, I know it's all near the area. It's like classic hot dog stand from like the 50s, and like Elvis everything, and the prices are cheap. It's like $1 for like a big thing of French fries, and
Coney
I
Island.
don't eat hot dogs, but I want to go
They got
there.
sued by Subway because they called their footlongs footlongs.
Yeah.
Really?
And Subway didn't even have real footlongs.
Exactly.
That's a
They have
ripoff.
they have the lawsuit posted there just so they could show
Yeah.
it. But yeah, no, Elvis was filming one of the summer ones. I don't remember. It was like but he was filming in Silver Springs. And they were driving also to Weeki Wachee. That was the other place they were filming. And Brooksville's like right at the halfway point. And he stopped there, grabbed a hot dog, and loved it so much that he shut down production for a day and brought the entire crew there for a day to eat again hot dogs for a day.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of movie maker he was. And so that place is still around, and they still make amazing hot dogs. And their fries are great too.
Do they have a vegan hot dog?
They do, but
Oh,
they
it
also
better
have,
not be like Portobello, whatever.
No.
Portobello?
It's
'Cause
similar to
Portobello's
the IKEA
hot
one.
dogs.
Yeah.
Portobello or whatever it's called. Portillo.
No,
there you go.
They have one. at the
Portillo gave me a
Nathan's.
bun with ketchup on it and was like, "Here's your vegan hot dog." And I was like, "Well,
Portillo doesn't serve anything with ketchup, but yes.
Yeah.
It's
No,
like
they have-
if
they
you
have
ever go
some
to
great
Coyote
gator
Ugly and
dogs
ask
there,
them
too.
for water, it's very much like out of the movie, like Hell No H2O.
really?"
Pretty much.
So like here, ketchup goes with everything.
I love
And
ketchup. Okay, so I'm weird on my hot dogs. I usually put like ketchup, mustard, mayo, potato chips, cheese. I'm weird.
Whatever.
that sounds like a good snack to me.
I have a friend.
smother it
uh,
in
our-
ketchup.
Have
I'm
you
not
been to
one.
Munchies down in Sarasota? Munchies 420 Cafe. Oh my God.
No.
Yeah, it's only open from
It's on my
4:20.
to-go list now.
It's open from 4:20 to 4:20. It opens at 4:20 p.m. and closes at
Oh,
4:20 a.m.
That sounds
It
like
says because your
an
mama
interesting
don't cook after midnight, and they make these things called Fat Sammys.
I've heard about these. Yes,
They're
I've heard about them.
basically
Okay.
a loaf of bread with 100 different things on them.
Yes.
So
the boss is here.
oh, hey,
Mark is great and so happy to see Heather joining. Could this be a regular thing?
I mean, you know, I'm always down to spread myself thinner than at home.
Dude,
If I
Heather,
put my
I
laptop
feel the
on
same
another
way.
podcast. I mean,
yeah, those
I am
Fat
still
Sammys are nuts.
just in case anyone's keeping count. I am still trying to log into my laptop.
Jeez.
Hence
Oh,
the
honey.
sofa.
Yeah. The Fat Sammys have like 4 hot dogs, 4
Yeah.
hamburgers, French fries. This is all on the sandwich. Mac and cheese.
Mhm.
Do people
tater
survive
tot.
after they eat it though?
They're
Oh,
too
yeah.
high to
Like,
realize
do you
that they've
have
eaten it and
to
they're hungry.
sign a waiver in
No.
order to eat
That's
this?
if you do their wings. They do have some. They call
Because they're like the
whole
ghost
wing.
pepper or whatever, right?
Yeah,
I
they have
love
the
ghost
Carolina
pepper.
Reapers.
Yeah.
So those are
Okay.
scary.
I do not know. I'm still dealing with my laptop, so if I look perplexed, I'm
right.
sorry.
It's all right.
But now I'm hungry too, so I'm perplexed and hungry. It's a
Perplexed
really
and
terrible
hungry.
combination.
So, Keisha, do you want me to tell you the ghost story of the Brooks Bridge
Oh,
up in
yes.
Destin with the wolves?
Do
okay,
it.
so what it is near Fort Walton Beach. There's this bridge that it's kind of like the Howard Franklin here in Tampa Bay, where it's like 11 miles long. It's not quite that long. It's like 4 or 5 miles, and it's and it connects the island of Destin to Fort Walton Beach, and it's just this beautiful little arched bridge. And what the story goes, because it used to have a land bridge there, was that during the land bridges back in the early days, the wolves would migrate across the land bridge, the last of the Florida wolves, and people would, the natives would hunt them and everything like that. Well, their ghosts are still seen there. And so what people do is on full moons, they go to the bridge and watch for these spectral wolves that run across where the land bridge was. So they're running across the top of the water.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a very obscure legend, and I thought we were like the only people in the world who'd even heard of this when we were investigating it. And now, when I do investigate, I am not a ghost hunter. I am not a Bigfoot hunter. I am not a UFO hunter.
You are missing out.
I go with these people. I
Yeah.
go with Bigfoot hunters. I go with ghost hunters. I go with UFO hunters to get their story.
Yeah,
And
which
to
I think
see
is
what they
awesome.
see. And I interview them, and I interview witnesses, and I do all this. So I'm kind of on that field, but I don't like to say I'm any of that stuff. I'm there for the journalism and the folklore.
You're a cryptid reporter, not a cryptid hunter.
I was called a parajournalist by Coast to Coast AM, and I love that term. So
Oh.
that's nice. Ripley's calls me a folklorist, so I'm good with that too.
But that makes sense too.
Yeah. So
Okay, so question real quick. What do you do? Like, what all do you do for Ripley's?
for
Because like
Ripley's,
yeah. 'Cause
Ripley's is a
curious
recent.
now.
Yeah, Ripley's is a recent thing. I was doing a event, and I was talking at the event, just doing one of my presentations, telling some ghost stories, telling some legends, and suddenly this lady who works for Ripley's comes up to me. She's head of Ripley's and says, "Hey, we're doing a YouTube series that's going to be a Discovery Channel show, and we need somebody who knows Florida folklore, and you're amazing. So and you're funny." And the last 2 guys we had were boring as hell. So yeah, it's like, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry, Nevin. Anyway, so I was like, oh well, I'll be happy to do this for you as a trial. So we did it as a YouTube thing, and Aaron Sagers from Paranormal Caught on Camera was their host, and then he's investigating a folklore thing, and then he brought me in to be the expert on alligators, and I was talking about he wanted me to tell this one Florida folklore tale that had nothing to do with real Florida and alligators.
Yeah.
Like, let me tell my story, and it was a hit. It was huge, and so it was and because of that, we're now doing a series for Discovery Channel, and we're going to the different Ripley's locations all around the country. But when they do the Florida ones, I'm the Florida guy. I go on and I tell the
Nice.
local story.
So do you actually get to be on TV? Because that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. I've been on quite a
Oh.
few documentaries and TV shows and stuff. So I'm on Ancient Aliens and an episode, and I've been on
I'm actually watching through Ancient Aliens right now on one of my like.
I've
streaming
never
devices.
seen the episode I'm on because
So
I
if
don't
I
have
see you,
History
I
Channel,
will let
but-
you know. I'll
Yeah,
be like,
yeah, let me
hey, I
know.
know you.
It's funny because I'll go in places and I'm like getting my hair cut or something, and somebody will be like, "Hey, I know you. You know, you're that guy." And I'm like, "Okay, where do you know me from?" There could be a lot of things now, and it's like, I've been on a lot of Amazon documentaries. Like I'm on on the trail of UFOs, Dark Skies. I dropped the big UFO bomb on that. That got me pretty well known amongst the UFO community. And then I've been on the one of the Bigfoot documentaries. Oh, and then I've been on a lot of podcasts and TV shows and stuff. But for Ripley's, what happened was that became a hit, and while we were working on that, the pandemic hit, so everything got put on hold. But like I said, the Ripley's, they keep having me come back and hang out at the warehouse, which they have a secret warehouse in Central Florida, and that supplies all the other Ripleys with all the products.
Okay.
Where they keep all their things. They also are Madame Tussauds headquarters because they own Madame Tussauds now. So there's all these wax museum figures and all this other stuff there. And whenever anything's broken, it goes to this warehouse to get fixed. And there are all these artists there and everything. But then the other job is to go in and figure out what the heck this stuff is. So they have an archivist, they have all these other things, but I get to look at stuff and just see, oh, maybe this might be interesting. And it's something we can talk about on a web show or something. So now we're actually working on that a little bit. Like most recently, we found this thing, and I'll show this for our YouTube viewers. This is JP, right? And look at this giant thing. They had no idea what it really was. It's a ring.
Is it a napkin holder?
It is a ring. It is a pinky ring. So this was for somebody's bit. I have giant hands, and this thing, this is a guy's pinky. And what I found was, by digging some more, we found this, which is the guy who it belonged to. And if you look
Wow.
on his finger, there's that ring. And his name is Johann K. Petruson, and he was the tallest man in the world for his day. And he wound up at about 8'8" and about 400 and some odd pounds.
Wow.
And that was his
He is
pinky ring.
massive.
Now, what does
And
that
so-
compare to Andre the Giant and everything? Like they're
That'd be about 6 inches taller than Andre.
Wow.
So,
Holy cow.
and he did a lot of acting. He did a lot of other things. And thankfully, I found that postcard, and that was
he did
the
a lot
key.
of crouching to get into places. What he did.
I would believe. All his clothes was special made, except for his handkerchiefs, which he was very proud that he was able to buy off-the-shelf handkerchiefs.
and
So-
I mean, I wonder what kind of vehicle he drove. What kind of bed do you sleep on when you're that tall?
That's his wife in the picture.
Wow.
She's
Oh,
not
Lord
standing
have
far
mercy.
away.
Talk about climbing
her.
someone like a tree. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Heather. Oy vey.
You're welcome.
I was thinking the same thing. I was just not going to say it out loud.
That's okay.
Willow, it wasn't me. It was actually Keisha throwing her voice. She possessed me for a second. And yeah.
Would have eventually
Yeah, but
gotten there. anyway.
90% of what you open at Ripley's, though, is like, oh, it's another shrunken head. Oh, it's another
Yeah.
taxidermy monkey. Oh, it's another shrunken
If
head.
you guys have too many shrunken heads, I will gladly take one. I mean,
No, they've cornered the market on it, and they would never share.
And these are like the real ones. These aren't like the
no, these are
you would actually have someone's real head.
I
one
know
of the amazing
that's why I
ones
won't.
they have at the Orlando site is one that was owned by Hemingway, and it's
Right.
actually a shrunken torso. So it's the head and torso, which is pretty
That's
impressive. And that's
awesome.
on display right now. So,
So my favorite place to go is up to Wisconsin and go to the Ripley's Museum up there
Where's the Ripley's in
Um,
Wisconsin?
in the Dells, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like is some of that stuff at least kind of sort of real, or is that mostly show?
well, it's Ripley's, so it's it's believe it or not. So yes, most of it is real. Most of it is 100%
Nice.
real. There are some things like they've got some Fiji mermaids from from the Barnum days and all that. They've got other stuff like that, but it is it is what it is, and that's the whole point of Ripley's. They don't have fact checkers because they have these guys who do it because they hate Ripley so much that they're like, this is not real, or
Yeah.
this is not real. And they love that because they've actually got Ripley's articles about these guys, that fact check them. They're like,
And then they hire them. That's like Apple or Google saying, if you can hack into our system, we'll offer you a job at $1 million. And these guys spend years trying to get into it, and they get a job. Mark, did you ever?
I'm never working for that then.
Did you ever get a chance to go to Wolf's in St. Augustine?
Yeah, I was one of the last places that we did our signing for Freaky Florida right before they moved up to Salem's, and then
now they're in Friendship, New York.
Yeah,
Yes,
they moved to Salem and then had the fire, which was so sad. And now Wolf was a very unique music collection of random
Yes, it was
stuff. They had a Marie Laveau collection to die for.
Yes, I was there before the grand opening because I've known them for years. Wolf was an attorney and my best friend. They went to school together. But they had, and that house that they had, so it was in St. Augustine, which is the oldest city in the state, and I think the country, as far as the southeastern section. But their house was in like the most historical area. It was extremely haunted. Weird stuff happened all the time. But yeah, we said Fiji Mermaid. I remember it being like on the outside. But they were able to, after this devastating fire that they lost, I think pretty much all relics, all 7 of their pets.
It's so terrible.
Wow.
But they were going through stuff and they would take photos, and there were you could see the pets in these photos after they were gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, that Laveau section was pretty cool too. The first time I was there was when the Laveau section was being set up, and there was like a serial killer section where there was like constantly
the Gordon room.
Yes. And it was like all of this really messed up stuff, but they would have like horror movies playing, and there was
It's
like
kind of like my kind of place though.
Oh, you and
Oh,
Keisha
it's amazing.
because they slept
so
in a
sad
room
that
that was like all Lizzie Borden stuff, but the serial killer room was where the bathroom was. And the very first time I went in there, I was wearing a piece that I had that I'll talk about another time. That was a very connected piece, and I'm walking through this area, and I felt so many eyes on me. There was no one in there. It was, and I don't get uncomfortable in a lot of spaces after hosting tours, and I thrive on this stuff. I had to get out of there so fast. I literally felt like I had a room full of people staring at me going to the bathroom.
So
Wow.
Wolf's was. I have a picture of Wolf's in Freaky because it was one of the must-visit destinations. And it was, and they closed like the year after, which was sad. But and that's the problem. Some of these places that I wrote about in Eerie, Florida, have been bulldozed. Yeah, and it's only been 5 years. So,
do you ever find that our obsession with serial killers to be like strange in any kind of way?
I think we're completely normal.
I think it's healthy.
No, not at all. There's a place we wrote about in Freaky it's called the Devil Tree. And it's in Port St. Lucie.
Yep.
And it's in Oak Hammock State Park.
It's right next to where my dad just moved. That tells you anything, Willow.
Nice. It's a beautiful little built-up area now, but back in the day, it was
nothing.
It was nothing. It was a pretty much abandoned area, and there was this old abandoned house, and this sheriff's deputy called Gerard John Schaefer. If a man has 3 names in Florida, he's either a politician or a serial killer. So just so you know that.
Or both.
I never thought about that way.
Yep.
Or a killer of a politician.
He used to do what he called twofers. He would kidnap hitchhikers in pairs, and then he would take them to this tree outside this old abandoned house, chain them up, do terrible things to them, and then make them decide which one died first. And then he would still do terrible things to the dead one.
I volunteer as tribute.
No. Yep, before he goes to the other one.
Why would you volunteer to die first and then sit there and have?
Then I didn't have to see the person I love get tortured.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it was more. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mark. I remember because I know there was a similar serial killer in New Orleans that did the same thing. But this serial killer, if you were going to be the one to die first, they would actually kill you last.
Yes. Yeah. Schaefer, though, would kill you first, and then he would rape you as you were dead, and do more
Wow.
other fun things.
Hooray, necrophilia!
Yeah.
Yay!
And then what made the other one watch while he did this? And while
Hooray
he
is
dismembered
not the
them.
word I would have
Wow.
used to describe it, honestly.
Yeah.
But self-promo time. I
Defiling?
did just write a book about murderers. So
Oh, yay! Very nice. Plug that book. Plug.
Plug.
Yep.
this
Available at fine bookstores everywhere. Yep.
I love that cover too.
Thank you.
Wow.
I find it nice and relaxing.
Available now on Amazon.
Yeah, it is on Amazon, guys.
Nice.
It's called Him. It's by me. You got
Very nice.
most of the people that are watching, hopefully there's some new people watching, know that I did a book thingy. I'm really bad talking about book thingies.
You'll get better.
I
at
write
it.
books.
Book thingy.
That's
So
the
this
part
is
you don't realize. That's the hard part. Is you got to sell it. So
this is actually my first solo novel, but I've been published 5 times. The other 4 are anthologies, and I've got another anthology coming out in June.
Nice.
But I still can't talk about books. I go brain, no function, E.
We got to get you on
And
Drinking
people are-
with Authors. It's a podcast I occasionally co-host.
I know I was stalking your Facebook.
Oh yeah. Oh, well,
By the way, you have
you're
like
the
an
one.
impressive
Okay.
yes, you have an impressive work history. But yes, I saw the Drinking with Authors and I was like, that sounds like a good show.
It's fun.
See,
Yeah, we drink and talk to other authors. It's pretty awesome. They have me on whenever it's some obscure science fiction author that nobody else will remember, and I fanboy about them. So it's it's awesome. So
I have
Donna's
to-
got a good point. She said most of the people watching
made you
right now.
publish.
Yeah, they were
Hey,
like,
no.
Keisha, you need to get your own story out. You don't have a
Yeah.
choice. And I was like, but do I? And they were like, no, you don't. And then so I published at the beginning of this year
Well, that was-
because they love me and they tortured me until I published. So
well, that
See,
was
I
eerie.
can't-
I didn't think it was going to be anything, and then here it's blown up, and like I said, now I'm doing documentaries and TV shows and all that. And it's like 5 years ago, I was a retail. Well, I'm sorry, 7 years ago now. The time flies. I was a retail single dad. With a closed haunted house. What was I? This was. I'd written back in the 80s, but I didn't think anybody remembered it. And then sure enough, it was,
I always wanted to write, and I feel like I have and Willow could attest to this because she's heard most of it. I feel like I have so much to say and so much to do. But I wouldn't have. I can't just sit down and start writing. I mean, I'm a good writer when there comes to a specific topic, but to do what you guys do and to create these books, I couldn't do it. I would happily
Heather,
tell my story.
here's a little thing. Talk to yourself. What
I
I
do.
do half the time is
Yeah.
if I've got an idea for a book or anything like that, because this is just the first one I've published,
Sure.
but I have a stack full of my writing that
Yep.
will probably never see the light of day. But what I do is I turn on the little annotation or whatever thing
Yeah,
on
the
my
recorder.
phone.
the voice
And-
recorder. Yep.
I talk to myself, and that's how I write a lot of my stuff. So it's just basically me talking to myself for hours on end about murders.
Yep.
I may have a problem, guys.
May.
It is what it is. No, the
Okay,
cool thing
Heather,
about
I
the-
do have a problem.
See, and Mark, what you and Heather do for tour, and Johnny for touring around Florida and going to all these different places. That's pretty much what I want to do here in Winnipeg. Is learn. I love learning about Winnipeg's history, going to these different places, and I'll even. Driving around with my husband, I drive him nuts by pointing to a building, going, "This is the history on this," and he goes, "How do you know this?" I looked it up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're in Winnipeg. Do they have a Winnipeg ghost tour?
Oh yeah, we do.
Yeah.
mean,
Town's got one now.
I-
I've been meaning to get her on my show. Her name, the woman who does it is her name's Kristen, and she does all kinds of different cool tours.
Awesome.
One
Yeah,
of
I mean,
the
that's-
one of the news stories in Eerie, Appalachia, because most people don't realize the Appalachians go all the way up through Canada.
Oh, yeah.
I was able to do one in Amaki, Quebec, and went up to that because it's the head of the Appalachian Trail.
Mhm.
And when we were there, somebody told us a ghost story that I'd never heard, and then I learned, okay, this is cool. So we were able to put that in the book, and so it's the head of the trail, and it's a baby minder. It was her name was Mother Tabitha, and she was the town's watched the babies grow up and everything.
Aw.
But a very large number of them suddenly wouldn't make it. Various accidents and various unusual things. So they finally, the people in town realize, hey, it's the baby minder. She's something wrong with this lady. And they go to chase her out of town, and they grab her and they rip the cloak off of her, and she's made a skeleton of babies. She is made out of various baby bones.
That's
and
awesome.
and just a human head. And as she runs off into the night, some demonic witch, and there's a newspaper article about it where it legit is in the newspaper about demonic baby minder, chased out of town. So this is the fun stuff that when you start digging into these things, you're like, how does nobody talk about this? This was actually in a newspaper, it's
because but think about it though, and I mean you have to understand this because it's you.
Yeah.
People get so word. They get so spooked, so freaked out about stuff that it becomes hush hush. Because if you talk about it and you believe it, you're crazy. If you see something and you say something about it, you're crazy. And with today's society, social media, oh my God, I can't believe so and so said this. It's like, but that's the history of stuff is what draws you in. The weird, spooky, creepy stuff is what makes you stay.
Well, and what's fun is, like I said, now though with social media, I think it's actually the opposite. People are saying more and talking more because now they're.
I mean, have y'all seen what goes on in my house?
Huh?
No, what goes on in your house?
Girl,
Keisha,
we need baby monitors for Keisha.
Well, I have 2 of them, and they mysteriously broke.
Oh, interesting.
They're still plugged in though. They have been plugged in for the last 6 months, and they've been broke. But I refuse to unplug them for some reason. It's probably out of laziness. They're both in the same spot, sitting, looking in the bedroom.
You're following your intuition, and that's that's our rule with anything we do is don't poke the bear.
Oh no, I poke it all the time. I'm hey, pokey poke, poke.
Well, poke.
I think very anti that because I've seen the weird stuff that happens, and I've read Robert the Doll's letters, and I don't want any.
Oh my gosh, let me tell you, Keisha, do you guys know about Robert the Doll?
I have a documentary about him coming out this summer.
I heard of the name.
Mark, Robert the Doll strikes a chord with me, and I've had the opportunity to ask him permission to take a photo. But because Keisha and Willow are not Florida girls, maybe, and for our viewers that might not know about Robert, do you mind giving a quickie little cliff notes about Robert the Doll?
Not a problem.
That's your bag.
Robert is a wonderful, amazing doll down in Key West, and Robert is over 100 years old, and Robert has rules. He's kind of like Gremlins.
Yes.
You have to follow the rules or bad things happen. Robert,
didn't they do a movie about it?
Yeah, they've done a couple movies about it. He's actually the inspiration for Chucky.
Yes.
Because he is this living doll that supposedly he was the toy of Robert Eugene Otto, who was this young boy. It was a very rich family, and there's stories that he was made by a voodoo queen and all this stuff. No, the doll was actually from the Stieff family that made all the famous teddy bears in Germany. Comes to Key West. Robert Eugene gets this wonderful doll, and bad stuff starts happening. So the servants are leaving. There's Robert. Hi, Robert.
Oh, he's fun.
So lovely.
He's so
look
cute.
At those letters behind him. Look at all those wonderful letters behind him. And that's Gene. That picture there on the wall behind him is Gene, his dad. And at that point, he got this doll, and all these bad stuff started happening. Toys started breaking. And everybody's like, you got to stop doing this, Robert. And he's like, well, I didn't do it. Robert did it.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you're Robert. He's like, no, I'm going to go by Gene because the doll wants to go by Robert, and we don't want any more confusion. So nowadays we'd have given that kid some Ritalin and we wouldn't have these stories. But instead, they agree to this, and the doll becomes Robert and he becomes Gene. And it's a long story. The doll passes through a few hands, finally back to Gene for a little while. And then after he dies, this doll is still super haunted, super cursed. And it gets in this museum, and the museum doesn't want to display him. They don't know what to do with this thing. But then the doll wants to be seen. So it starts showing up in places. So they finally have to put it up in this case. But they learn the rules. Now, the rules are you have to introduce yourself to Robert when you see him. Hello, Robert. I'm Mark. Nice to meet you. And then I always say, hey, Robert, good to see you again.
Get you everywhere.
The second rule is you have to be nice. You have to be polite because Robert's you got to be polite.
I could see myself messing up every single one of these rules.
Oh, but
anything
wait
rude
till
or
you hear
obnoxious,
if you don't.
you're in trouble. Third rule is when you take his picture, you have to ask permission. You have to say, hi, Robert, may I have
I
your
would
photo?
definitely fail at that one.
The fourth thing is you have to, this is the one everybody forgets. You have to say goodbye.
Yep. Thank you and goodbye.
The door. You have to.
So I'm not supposed to invite him to come home with me.
Exactly.
No.
And certainly
But
don't
that's
give him
rude,
your
like-
name. That's like a fairy thing. If you give a fairy your name,
So,
they
like-
got power over you. So
Well, no, but if
Giving
you have to
him-
introduce yourself to him, you do have to give him your name. You
your
just
name,
can't-
but not give it to him. You know,
Oh,
like,
no,
yeah,
no.
I mean,
you
if
can
he
go by
wants to go
Mark
by
now.
Keisha,
No, Robert, you don't get to do that. And then the last rule is if you screwed up 1 through 4, you have to write him a letter saying,
Apologizing.
I'm so sorry, Robert. And you can just spend a day reading those letters. There are thousands of
Amazing.
letters. He gets hundreds a month to this day.
Yeah.
I
And,
really want to test it
involving-
so bad.
plane crashes, car accidents, financial troubles, and they all track back to Robert.
Dude, you have no idea how messed up my life is in the first place. Maybe it might improve.
Well, you can watch.
Text
I know
him.
that
You
Zach
can, he's on
Baggins
Twitter
did.
now. You can Twitter Robert
Oh,
the
yeah.
doll and say, hey, Robert, you're a jerk.
Y'all
and
know
then
what
see
I'm
happens.
doing?
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
so-
going to Twitter right now.
all
But
right.
Ghost Adventures, with Zach Baggins, he did a whole episode on Robert the Doll, and they go through this whole thing, but Mark explained it much more eloquently than Zach did.
Well, and also, Zach is Zach. We go to a lot of places that Zach's been, like Trans Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. And all these
Yes.
other places, and they all talk about, we have our ghosts, and the Ghost Adventures have their ghosts that were here, and they're never the twain shall meet. Yes, there he is. There's Robert.
That's insane.
Okay,
Give
so
him
what am I tweeting him, guys?
But like my favorite letter that somebody wrote was, "Dear Sir Robert," I called him Sir. I'm sorry for calling your leather face stupid. You are actually quite handsome, and leather is great for a face.
That's
I
fantastic.
took your photo without permission. Please forgive me. Please remove your curse. We get the message. Please fix my eye, my Xbox, and my marriage. And I loved it. He put them in that order. I thought that was appropriate. So,
My eye, my Xbox, my marriage.
yep. Marriage was last because you got to have the eye to play the Xbox.
Absolutely.
And then you got to have the Xbox if your marriage is third on the priority anyway. So,
Maybe that's why marriage is third.
yeah, exactly.
Willow,
So,
what were you
A
going
couple
to say?
presidents have
I'm
written
curious.
Robert.
I'm curious with Robert the doll being the way the story behind it. Is the story of Annabelle similar?
Annabelle is very real. Back when I was still just doing the haunted house, I went to Ed and Lorraine's house many
Oh my
years
God, I'm
ago.
so jealous.
And I was there because I didn't even know about Annabelle. Annabelle wasn't a thing then. This was I was looking for the music box, which was a famous artifact that they had from Amityville, and
Yes.
I was wanting to write a story about that back when I was just writing articles, working the day job, and I went to the house, and there's this Raggedy Ann doll in a box with all these creepy things on it, and I just looked at it and went, interesting. And then I went over and talked to the music box, and they were just like, yeah, don't touch that. I'm like, okay. And Ed and Lorraine were just the sweetest people in the world. And then of course Annabelle becomes, huge later. But for those who don't know, Annabelle is a Raggedy Ann doll. It's not
Yeah.
this creepy
Okay,
burnt
so
ceramic
my,
doll.
my childhood bedroom was all Raggedy Ann. So I had it painted on the walls and the bed sheets and my pillowcase.
Yeah.
Also, side note, that is also the house that I used to hear the dead lady in my attic rocking in her rocking chair all the time.
Ooh, fun.
And again,
My-
Annabelle, a group of ladies found it, and they gave it a name. They invited it in,
Yeah.
and that's what caused all this. So it's
Yeah.
it's one of those. Now with Robert, he grew up in a place called the Artist House, or it was the Auto House back then, and that place is creepy as heck and has some very weird energy in it. And so when we were there filming this documentary, some oddball stuff happened. So it's one of those. Did Robert pick up the energy from the house and then infest the doll, or so it's chicken and the egg?
Yes.
Or did Robert bring it to the house? It's very unusual place.
Oh.
What's your favorite place that you've discovered, either wanting to write about and wrote about, or writing through something that you discovered, something that you wouldn't have ever known about?
I gotta say, with some of the stuff with Eerie Appalachia, I got to go to some of these back hills and learn about these crazy stories. One of the coolest places was called the Mushroom Mines in Kentucky. It's in Olive Hill. It's an abandoned mine complex. They're trying to sell it again. It was very profitable limestone mine that shipped off to ironworks. Stuff in the
Well,
war.
limestone. I would have never guessed it was haunted. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And then they dug about 2 miles worth of tunnels and found an underground lake. They found all this other stuff. It closed in the 40s and right after World War II. And then it reopens in the late 50s when they realized this is a great place to raise mushrooms. It's the perfect temperature. And
Yeah.
I love
they just
mushrooms.
fill it with manure and start growing mushrooms.
Oh no.
And then it goes out of business in the 60s. It's just like,
Okay.
So
What kind of mushrooms were they growing in the
they were
60s?
canned and
Mark?
shipped. It was good mushrooms. It was good stuff. And then in the 60s, it's abandoned. So it becomes this place from town to go sneak over to. The whole town becomes a ghost town because the mines are gone, the
Sure.
farm's gone.
It probably
So
smells
it's
like
the nearby
crap too.
town, Olive Hill. This is kind of the go-to make-out point. You can go head out in these caves and
Make out in the
Let's
mushroom
make
mine.
out next to this pile of poo.
and that's when they
That
start
sounds about
finding
right.
the bodies
Oh yeah.
and
Nice.
and the cult activity.
Oh my
there,
gosh, this is right up
and-
my alley.
Exactly. And a young boy killed his parents and hid them in there. And the only reason anybody found out about it was because his best friend turned him in.
How
You
old
know,
was the boy that
otherwise
he
they'd have been
managed to
there
get both
for-
of his parents' bodies down there?
Yeah. Yeah.
He was
Real
probably
bad
like,
guy.
"Hey mom, hey dad, come with me to this place. I need to show you something I found."
Mushrooms.
he-
I
And
need
he
to
was
show you
like,
some
"Here,
mushrooms.
you're dead."
Yep. And then there's stories of all these couples that would, go out there to camp out as like sort of rite of passage and stuff. And then people would come up to them in cloaks and robes and chase them off, and they'd hear
I
weird
wonder if
noises.
mushrooms
and
still
signs.
grow there.
So we called the owner of the
Oh.
place, and it sat for a little while because it was this company from California was going to make it the next big tech place. It was going to be a secure data storage
Of course.
facility, and they hired the mayor of the town. They spent all this money building new buildings, and it was a front. It was a Ponzi scheme, and it collapsed before it even started. And again, then it passed into nobody owns it. So who owns it? And now it got bought
really wanna
recently by a
buy
guy who lives in Maryland.
Keisha, you don't need a mushroom mine.
And
I
he wants
do
to
need a
call it
mushroom mine.
Mega Mountain, and he wants it to become an entertainment complex. He thinks it'll be the perfect place to host live action Dungeons and Dragons and
Was this
concerts
okay? So
Yes,
and all
that
that.
sounds fantastic.
was this the place? I don't remember which ghost show, and I'm sorry, Mark. I hate to keep
Right.
referring to like reality, but you would
Yeah.
remember more. There was one place one of the crews went that was in a mine that was underground. They had like a hotel underground.
Oh yeah, that's
Okay.
actually in out west. That's out near Arizona.
Okay,
and
so it's
I don't
totally
remember
wrong.
the name
I
of
just
it.
remember like the cave and like all
Yeah.
sorts of weird stuff.
Yep. And it's but anyway, so we got to go to this place and we got permission to go
So
in just a little bit. We weren't allowed to go very far in because liability issues and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But walking into those abandoned caves and it's the first few rooms, of course, tons of graffiti because that's where everybody goes. You get back a little further, nobody goes further than that. And it just gets dark and it just echoes for miles. And while we're there, I'm just taking pictures for the book, and we really didn't want to go in too far and all that because we weren't geared for this or anything. And then suddenly we hear tap, 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 and it's just echoing around us, and I'm like, and it's not like animal tapping. This is a tap, tap, tap.
Oh,
Tap, tap.
I would have been asking it questions.
Well, that's exactly what we were like. Hello, you know, did you
Yeah.
have permission
Hey,
to
what's
be
up,
here? 'Cause we
homie?
do.
Well, yeah, I
and-
remember when you first approach something, you don't know if it's someone messing with you. You don't know if it's an entity. You don't know if it's an animal. So
Yeah.
you're, at least the way I was taught to hunt and look and tour is you always approach it as a skeptic. Is it a person? Hey, are you allowed to be in here? Hi, I'm here, but if you can come out so I can see you, that way, and you just kind of have to approach it like it's a person.
Do
And
the
then if you
Casper
don't-
the Friendly Ghost thing.
you gotta just you gotta play it by ear. And again, like I said, we had permission to be there. We knew nobody else did.
Right.
So it was one of those. Is this a homeless person just living down here in the mines?
If possibly.
Safe,
I mean,
yeah.
I got all the way down into the French catacombs, and I immediately felt something. I got shoved, and there was no one around me. I ran up so fast. So caves and underground places for me are very hard.
Yeah.
So
Mine
you
are
did way better
bridges.
than I would have.
Mine are bridges. I have trouble with bridges, so it's like I just
Oh.
have problems with water, deep water.
Yeah,
bothers me.
fair,
That's why I don't go
fair.
to the beach. I go to the beach just to watch stars whenever it's because that's the only place there's dark skies in
Yeah.
Florida.
Yeah.
Carl's
Uh,
talking about me in the
Kissimmee.
comments.
Kissimmee Prairie State Park, if you ever go down there, Mark, it's not in the Kissimmee in the Orlando area, but it is the actual official dark park of the state of Florida.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
that place is amazing.
Sometimes in
And
the Green Swamp or out in Ocala National Forest. That's
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
good there. So Ocala is great just because you know that's Skunk Ape headquarters. Everybody thinks it's the Everglades. No, it's Ocala.
no,
But the beautiful thing about Ocala is that the beautiful thing about it is the Navy bombs it a lot, so you have to be careful what nights you go because they might bomb you.
or
Yeah.
John Travolta might fly his plane over you.
That's a good point too. But yeah,
That's when
I'm
you
interested
roll the
to
D20
hear-
and see if you're going to make it or not.
I'm interested to hear more about this skunk ape, so I'm definitely gonna have to invite you back on to
course,
talk
yeah,
about
we'll talk
that.
Yeah, 'cause we only have like
Monsters.
2 minutes
Promise.
left. This show was very
It
informative.
goes by very
Like,
quick.
It
Yeah.
does.
But man, you guys, thank you for joining us this evening and telling me like about Florida, and I'm definitely interested now to learn more.
You need to.
I was like, I have to go visit Florida now.
You can
Or
pick
you get
up
more
Eerie
stuff.
Florida, Creepy Florida, or Freaky Florida if you'd like to know, more monsters at eerieflorida.com or wherever fine books are sold. Our publisher Arcadia puts us everywhere. We're in like Walgreens, CVS, Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
That I knew I'd made it big when I was in Cracker Barrel.
Cracker Barrel is
but,
my favorite place. Not even
Harbor
gonna lie.
Freight.
Harbor Freight, really awesome.
Our fans send us like we're all these unusual places they find our books, and it always makes me laugh. So it's
See,
good stuff.
One of our we have our usual suspects in the chat, and Donna apparently has a couple of your books. So
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm if you liked them, I wrote them. If you didn't, my wife did all the hard work, and I just kind of typed a bunch of keys on a keyboard. So.
There you go. And his marriage is not number 3 on the list. Okay.
No, I couldn't afford to hire her, so I had to marry her. That was the deal. So.
Oh, see, that makes sense. I had to marry my chauffeur because I don't drive.
There you go. Yep, that's how it works, right?
Oh my goodness.
But no, I will be happy to come talk to the monster. We'll talk Pinky the Sea Monster.
Yes.
We'll talk Skunk Apes. The
Well-
Punta Gorda Turtle is one of my favorites.
And Willow, maybe we could just replicate this over on the sideshow too. Hey.
absolutely.
And
trying to
then we can get
steal-
into more of the details.
Are you trying to steal our thunder, Heather? I mean, I go on your show too, but that's not the point.
You
The
do?
point
I've
is-
never seen you.
I
Who are you?
feel like all our the podcasts just kind of blend together. So
Yeah, I somehow managed to fall in with the cool kids, and I'm okay with that.
Oh, you
Willow,
think
you
we're
were on the
cool?
Doctor Who
You were
show that
highly
I'm on
misinformed,
occasionally,
honey.
so-
Yeah. Yes, I was on a Legend. Well, I've been on Legend of the Traveling TARDIS for a bajillion times because I love Christian, and I get my own stuff with doing stuff for Fan Expo, and then we've just been
Nice.
doing our thing here, and it just kind of all blends together.
Yep. I'm I think I'm at one of the fan expos coming up. I don't remember. I'm
No,
supposed to be-
Mega's in May.
Mega.
Yeah.
I'm guesting. I'm a guest creator there. So that'll
Well,
be
then
fun.
I'll have you do one of my virtual events, or we'll do a meetup event. We'll talk after the show. It's 10 o'clock here.
Yep.
All
Yep.
right,
It's my
so-
bedtime too. So yep.
So many thanks for everybody joining us here on Cryptid Crunch. Mark, such a pleasure talking to you, and I look forward to future conversations. Mark, where you were saying EerieFlorida.com, but
Yep.
where else could we find you on social media?
Eerie Travels is what the new branding will be soon, because Eerie Appalachia is coming out later this year. So we're outside of Florida now. And that's when and that should be, we're actually working with a couple different production companies on that, so that will actually be a show on something at some point. You know how that goes. It's everything's up in the air right now. But the Road Trips with Ripley's is on YouTube. The first couple pilot episodes are up there. If you do the Orlando one, I get to talk about a giant kaiju alligator legend. So
I'll go stalk you on it.
yeah, happy to do that. Then but I'm on a lot of other podcasts, TV shows. I'm on Into the Fray, Coast to Coast AM, and others, among others. Happy to be back on when you guys want me. But again, you can find us at Eerie Florida on all the social medias.
Awesome. Oh, Mark, you're in the cult now. You'll be back.
Yes.
I'm gonna put the tinfoil hat on just to be safe.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
keep that ready for when I'm doing the UFO talks.
Keisha and I will get our cloaks. Willow will get the candles. You've got your tinfoil hat. It's great.
Yep.
I do have a cloak. I have several of them.
I have one. I have a couple stabs, but cloaks are a bit thin. So
I do some cosplaying here and there.
Don't we all? So
yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna call it.
I do a good penguin. So
Oh, that's right. I did stalk your page for those pictures.
See, Willow, I'm not the only stocky one.
So you're the ones. That's those random likes I've been getting. Okay, good.
Heather, me and you, we love steampunk and stuff like that, and I've been wanting to host a tea party for so long, so we definitely need to plan.
Done.
I have an entire Pinterest board on this, by the way. So I have an entire Pinterest board on tea party. So
okay, come on down, guys.
I'll be Mad Hatter. We got this.
Yes, I was gonna say Mark can be the Hatter.
Excellent.
Totally fine.
It's all coming together now. All right, Heather, where can we find you all over social media?
Sometimes I randomly pop into like Willow shows or Keisha shows. Then you can find me on the Hangman web series at the sideshow. Right here with this one, and sometimes this one, and maybe next time that's off the camera. That guy right there. Yeah. It's like the Muppet Show or the Brady Bunch. Find me on Facebook, Heather Bador. It's fine. You can add me wherever. Or if you are local to Central Florida and you want to support local restaurants, stillservingflorida.com will take you to the nonprofit I founded at the beginning of quarantine.
And I follow that. So I do not live in Florida, but I know where everything is open. So
you can follow it even if you just want to follow like what's trending on local restaurant news. Oh, hi.
That's my wonderful wife, the talented artist I keep talking. She is very much.
You were talking a lot of trash a couple of minutes ago.
She's very much the teller to my pen, where she lets me do all the talking. So
that's right. I'm trying to do it.
She were taking care of the snakes and the spiders. She has we have lots of non-fur pets. So.
And Willow, Keisha, where can we find you guys on the?
Keisha, by all means, you can go first.
As always, I am awful at saying what I do thingy mabobs.
What is this?
I don't know. Probably who knows at this point? Have you met me, Heather? No, I don't know. I have nothing. Okay.
Keisha's written a book. You can buy it on Amazon and a couple of other places.
Yeah, I almost forgot about that. I did forget
about the book,
Heather. So hi, I wrote a book named Him by Keisha Acuff. End of story. So if you Google my name, Keisha Acuff,
so much bad stuff comes up.
Don't Google me.
You Googled it?
Don't Google me.
Google me. Some awesome stuff comes up. You could see me all the way back to high school. No, it's great.
It's scary.
So But yeah, just Google Acuff Creations or Keisha Acuff, and I will pop up. That's
Right
as
out
good
in
as
front of
it
your computer. Okay. And Willow, where can
Yes.
you find you?
Well, you can find me here on back of the cereal box with Cryptid Crunch. You can find me as
There you
There we go.
as the program director for the Hanging with Web TV show, and yeah, I do the sideshow with Heather. I'm all over the place, honestly.
You're kind of like the podcast. Like, what?
You're like, yeah.
You're like the Ryan Permisson. It's okay. You're the female version.
Is
everywhere.
that
I'm
that's
everywhere.
true? By the way, did y'all see Ryan in the comments earlier?
Yes.
saying
Yep.
Keisha driving me crazy.
Yeah.
That's
why we didn't read it.
Our hashtag is Keisha be crazy.
Mhm.
Nice.
Also, and flaming Yeti hole.
I
Mm.
like that.
So
like
a flaming Yeti hole. We did a show on Yetis a couple months back for like Christmassy time, and as a person who doesn't actually drink alcohol, I somehow thought it would be a good idea to create an alcoholic beverage called the Flaming Yeti Hole, and so now there's a alcoholic
Really?
beverage named the Flaming Yeti Hole. So
My goal in life was to talk to Brian Blessed, Sir Brian Blessed, Voltan from the Flash Gordon movies, because he's a huge Yeti expert, and
Yeah.
you know, he's one of those guys, one of the mainstream guys trying to prove the Yeti exists and all this. He's 85 years old and he's still trying to free climb Everest unassisted.
Yep.
Yeah, that's his
Wow.
goal, the hard way, you know. And
I am too lazy.
and
He'll
when-
do it.
And if anybody can do it, it's him. And he's very famous for Gordon's alive and all this. He's very big and boisterous. And that was one of the coolest things about all this was, you know, all this went crazy. The books went crazy. And my publisher got him to do a video talking about me researching the Florida Yeti, aka the skunk ape.
Yeah, the
And,
skunk ape is the Yeti of Florida, and he smells like body odor.
Well, they all
So he
smell
smells
bad,
like
but of course
me.
Florida has to rename everything. So we
It's
called it
fair.
the skunk ape. So that's
Uh,
yeah.
You guys let me on this show. Oh yeah, I am part of the show. Never mind.
We love you, Keisha.
Are you sure? Do you really want me to like
I
stay
don't.
here?
It's all a lie.
Yeah. Oh,
The
by
show
the way,
wouldn't
guys,
be anything
thanks
if
for
it
this-
wasn't for you, Keisha.
Thank you for this show tonight, because I still have to go out in the pitch black outsideness and shut up all the. So Mark doesn't know this, but I live on a farm, and I have to
Nice.
go shut up all my. Mark, is that what I said? Did I
Hmm?
say Mike or Mark?
You said
My
Mark.
brain told
Okay.
me I said Mike for some reason.
No.
So yeah, I still have to go out in the dark by myself in the cold, traipsing through the snow to shut up all
There's
my
something
animals.
called
And now
That's
I'm
right,
gonna go out-
fine.
Fine.
I was
What's
just gonna
drive
say,
time?
isn't that what your husband's there for?
No, he works night shifts, so
Girl
he's gone.
power.
So watch out for
You can do it.
Einstein.
I believe in
And
you.
when I was researching Eerie Appalachia, the big rule is if you hear something call your name, do not
Go towards it.
respond.
Oh,
Do not
Okay.
respond. It's
I
called the
have
hide
Hey,
behind.
Ryan,
so
give
many
it your phone
times.
number. Yeah.
It's called the hide behind or the hide and seek. There's a lot of different names for it, but it's the one that scared me the most when I was reading about it, because it's just like, just don't
So,
answer your name.
I want to read about this now.
Okay. That sounds like something we should discuss
Yeah.
for
Next
the
time
next
on the
show.
next show.
Is like all these cool little myths of
Yeah.
yeah. So
stories,
you guys
like,
want
I
to know
like
what we're
this.
talking about next time? Probably stuff like this.
The strange disappearance of Keisha Acuff. That's what we.
Yes. So it's
It
probably
wouldn't be a
because
strange
I'm
disappearance or a mystery. We would just know she willingly went with something.
she went for. She
I
heard the
am
thing call and she
tweeting
went.
him. I follow him now.
Yeah, better follow
So,
Robert.
I mean, I'm
Look
texting
at all those
him right
tweets.
now.
Look at all those
Hey,
tweets.
There'll be a
up,
Keisha doll next. Where'd
homie?
Keisha go? She's right next to Robert.
Okay, so I'm I'm tweeting him.
Yeah.
Okay,
right
Keisha
before I
has
go
to
outside.
run.
So
okay, we'll see what happens after in a couple of weeks to Keisha after tweeting Robert.
And you only find out when you watch Cryptid.
yeah, you guys have to come back and see if I'm still here. I'm testing the fates. I did tweet him, so
So, okay, so if you like the show and you want us to do a live on location somewhere at a convention near you,
We will come.
please donate to us, buymeacoffee.com/cerealboxpod, because we will take this on the road.
Yes. I'm in.
We'll do this live at conventions. All right, you guys have a wonderful night. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Pleasure.